Well, you can actually see the same number.
For the residents to decide whether
We've got a way to
well, that says a lot about where they are and I think that's why they say like well, then also
Good afternoon, everyone.
Tories leaving the
We can come to order. Welcome to the Downs Committee meeting today. Thank you all for coming. I think we should go around and introduce ourselves first off. And safety, as far as safety information, I think it's just out through the main doors and congregate by the cathedral. Should we have a follow lead on? There's toilets this way. Some down there. Yeah, it's people need those for comfort breaks. Anyway, I'm Councillor Goggin, Lord Mayor for this year, and I'm chairing. If we go round to my right, if we just all introduce each other.
Mike Mothway, I'm this year's Master of the Society of Merchant Ventures and therefore by statute Deputy Chair of the Downs Committee.
Carl Grove, I'm the Councillor for Safety.
I'm Steve Smith, Councillor for West Yorkshire and East.
I'm Kevin J, Finance Officer.
Robert Bournes, I'm a member of the Merchant Ventures. David Powell, member of the Merchant Ventures.
Pierre Franklin, member of the Merchant Ventures.
Andrew Varney, Councillor for Brislington West, and I'm newly got onto this committee.
Christine Townsend, I'm a Southfield councillor.
David Freed, Merchant Venture.
Steve Anderson, Provisions, City Council.
Anna Stevens, Avon Water Downs, Wildlife Biodiversity Manager.
And Steve Gregory, Democratic Services. I'm clerk in the new meeting today.
Thank you all. We have some apologies for absence. So the Councillor O'Rourke
And Councillor Philip Dudley, and we also have Lee Spots, Merchant Venture, and Mark Crutchfield, Merchant Officer One, we have Harriet Shannon, Sharon Randy, and Jonathan James. And it looks like Dennis Gusman, but this is what I'm like.
So do we have any declarations of interest for items on today's agenda from anyone? No? That's brilliant. Okay, we'll move on to the minutes of last meeting. Now, I wasn't here for that. I was still recovering, or it's been in hospital, I can't remember which. But I will propose that they are a accurate record. Does anybody have any changes or amendments they want made to those minutes? I won't go through them page by page. If you just tell me if you think anything is not as it should be. Quite extensive minutes. Hopefully you've all got a copy of them. Do we have anything? No? It's good. May I have a second of any? Thank you, Steve. Fabulous. Okay, get back to the agenda then. So we have the action tracker now, which is on pages 12 and 13 of your pack, I believe. And this one, it says action tracker for Downs Committee the 13th of November. give us.
Yeah, that's one of the mainly for those who turn us on what's done, also it's fully updated, so you don't take that into account. It's just for information.
So that's just for those.
Unless it's
Does anybody have any comments on the action tracker agenda item 5? Fine, okay.
Just the, well, we could talk about it when we come to finance, but this issue of strategic seal,
Okay, what number is that?
11.
Okay, accessing of seal number the head of arts contact for sections 106 and seal project manager to investigate. Yeah, that's scheduled for completion for today. Do we have anyone who's been involved in that? At all? No?
John was going to follow these up.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that goes on to the
it's got to be in a subgroup with them. I'm kind of meeting prior to the
Oh, okay.
meeting. They're trying to be scheduled dates so they don't clash. At that spot, that is so that must be moved.
Okay, so we'll have a new date for completion shortly. Well, I suppose it'll be in the next meeting. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Is that okay?
Well, I'm just interested into why people tasked, this has been going on for months, as you know,
Yeah.
and we're no further forward, and each meeting we task somebody to go and have a look, and nothing comes back.
Okay.
Yes, I was just wondering whether Kevin knows anything because it's got his initials next to John Jones.
Yeah, no, John was looking into it. I think he's going to bring something to the next events and finance subgroup. Yeah, I'll let John comment really. He's the one who's been delving into it.
Can I ask you to just give John a general note?
Yeah, he's been on leave. He's on leave today.
Okay, and do we know roughly when the next...
I think it was like to look it up this few weeks time.
Okay.
In the January, so in January.
Are you on the events?
End of January. Yeah, it is.
30th of January.
30th of January.
Oh, okay, so it's actually far away.
That's what it normally would have on before, but we couldn't because I think it was in the clash. That's why it's there.
Okay. So we'll just have to chase it up.
That's it. Hopefully by next time.
Yeah. Sorry, we will give John a nudge, but yeah, you're right, it has been going on
It
for a
would be
long
nice
time.
if we had something for that meeting on the 30th of January. That would
Yeah.
really help.
Yeah, definitely, I would expect him to produce something for that anyway. Christina, are you on that?
No.
You're welcome to attend, I think, it'll be a public meeting, won't it?
It's not.
It's not public. Could we make an exception on that, Christine?
I guess so. I'm not going to say that.
I just want an answer really. I want to be looked at and I want to be investigated so we know where we are.
I'm the chair, and Christine, you'll be very welcome.
Thank you.
Could you possibly send an invitation?
Yes, of course.
Yes, that'd be fantastic. And then you could at least see what the progress is, hopefully.
Alright.
I think it's, is it remote?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes things better.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 weeks away, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, do we have anything else on the action tracker? What have we got next? The parking task force, we've got a report on that for later today. Spoil on Observatory Road. I'm just looking at the ones that are scheduled to finish today. Do we have any update on that? That was Paula's and John, so we're not going to get much of an update on that one, unfortunately, unless anybody else knows.
It's still
We've got a supplementary finance report regarding no extension for use of North Car Park. That's down for you, Kevin. Is that something that you're going to be reporting on today, or?
Yeah, as part of the budget report for
Brilliant.
next year, it brings that into consideration.
Thank you. And then the only, they're all scheduled for completion actually today. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me, obviously this is my first full meeting back, so. Investigate the issue around, let's go through them, we might as well. investigate the issue around a resident installing a private driveway.
That's the ongoing legal services are on it,
Okay.
but as with anything legal, no offence to the lawyers in the room, perhaps it lasts.
Okay. Yeah, we'll update that for the next meeting.
It's rolling on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Steve. That's good. Number 2 is with Paula as well. So, well, we'll have to leave that one. Transport Parks officers to attend a future meeting to brief the committee on pay and display. Yeah, I'm sure we can do that anyway. The next task, have you considered that at all, Mike, or asking?
I suspect that what will come out of,
It depends on today's meeting.
exactly, if we adopt the recommendations of the task division, then this would certainly be an action that we want to bring front and centre.
Fabulous. Discussing engagement with disadvantaged children for the education and engagement strategy.
I don't know, Christine, I'd say that's finished. I think we've had quite a few discussions about that now.
Yeah.
And I feel we have
incorporated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel we've sort of taken that
Yeah.
forward. So I don't think we can call that.
There is a completed question mark on it anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll mark that as completed. Thank you. And the Downs manager post, have we, that's John as well. But I don't know if anybody has any update on that. Okay. Right, moving on there.
Chairman, can I just register some people's disappointment that we haven't made any progress on that? It really has been going on for a very, very long time. And there are all sorts of things that need doing on the Downs that fall within the job description of a Downs manager. We don't have an executive as such.
Okay.
And we desperately need somebody to take hold of that.
Is it potentially remuneration? Why we haven't had a response? Or?
Well, I think the first time round the job description was not fit for purpose. And
Okay.
it got rewritten. That all took a long time. And now they say that the response has been very disappointing. So I don't know whether that's because of the nature of the job or because they're not paying enough.
Okay.
If I may, I think, totally agree with David, this is critical, and it's just
absolutely.
And I think this when this was first originally agreed, it was kind of chief executive role reporting to us as effectively a board of trustees. And the sense I get is it's kind of been sucked into the council structure, but it's been diluted and it's become a council middle management job, which is less, I think the remuneration got cut as well, which makes it less attractive. And if we do attract somebody, luckily it isn't the calibre we want for the job that we need doing. And so I share the concerns, and I do always need to.
And I also, this may be terribly cynical, but the council were not keen on the whole idea in the first place. So whether there's a lack of enthusiasm in terms of pushing it forward.
Let's hope not. But we certainly need an update again for next time, because this was mooted, I think, before I was even Lord Mayor.
Oh gosh.
It's a year or two. Funding's been agreed with the kind of support of the London Venture as well, to get salary to where we need it to be for what the law ought to be. And my fear is it's just being watered down in my opinion.
Okay. What have we got down as? So that's just with John. Is there anybody else that then want? Okay.
I think Paula was
as well.
on John's back and chasing it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she's not here either today, so.
Apparently a premature grandchild.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, congratulations to Paula.
Yeah. So he's got a very reasonable excuse for not getting it. Okay. Yeah, we'll just have to try and put Rocket under that one and find out. It says poor response to job advert, but we don't know whether that's just nobody applied or the people that applied are not of the calibre of So we need, it says further meeting to improve response, the ways of improving this. So again, I don't know if that's taking place or not. Apologies, I'm scrolling through on my screen at the time. So, we've now got matters arising from the events and finance group, but they haven't had a meeting prior to this meeting. So we'll just have to move straight on to public forum. Up to 30 minutes is permitted for this item to consider items of public forum sent to the Downs Committee. Interested parties can submit a written statement, a maximum of 2 written questions, and you will have the opportunity to ask one supplementary question arising directly out of each of the original questions or replies. I've got a copy of what's been sent in, so let's see who we've got. Yeah, sorry.
There was a question from Fotag first, and then we got statement ones also.
I'm just going to close this one out. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then we got one from Peter Weeks and another one from Adams.
Okay.
I got it, that's it.
Yeah. So the first one we've got is from Friends of the Downs and Avon Gorge. We have representation. Thank you. So your question is currently there appears to be an apparent lack of political will to deal effectively with the down-dwelling community around the Down. When the City Council returns to managing the city by committee later in the year, can Downs neighbours and Downs users expect a more robust approach to this escalating problem? I don't know if any of us know exactly the committee system, but let's hope so. You've also submitted a statement which we'll have here as well. So, do you have some questions to ask?
The question was a supplementary question. I'm quite happy with that. I didn't expect any different one way of that announcement. I know everything's still up in the air at the moment. Can I just backtrack a little bit and endorse comments that made about disappointment in the lack of progress in the appointment of the Downs manager. We were given assurances that this would be resolved in relatively quick time. I'm still disappointed that we didn't actually have a date when something would be sorted out by. We need to go back to the Parks Department, and to the head of Parks, and say, we need a date, when you're going to have an answer for us, and an update.
We will get an update, I'm hoping, for the next meeting. As I said, we need to find out exactly why, whether we've had no responses or whether we've had poor responses. And they either need to then change their approach or change the remuneration, I don't know.
Thank you, Warren. To the public forum statement, making the assumption that the Downs Committee was interested in the report. I would just like to refer to the last couple of paragraphs in the report. In the past few weeks, FODAC has received from Downs neighbours anecdotal reports of significant increase in the use of cannabis resin around the van and caravan encampment at Paris Lane. Neighbours report being able to clearly detect the strong, distinctive odour associated with cannabis consumption. And we go on, perhaps more alarming, are further reports about unscrupulous individuals actually parking caravans on the Downs and then offering these units out for rent. There's a suggestion that these rentals may be linked to the fast food delivery trade and seem to be mostly young men who fulfil these tasks. There are currently over 70 units parked around the Downs. As an organisation, FODAG accepts that these reports are not hard evidence, but clearly there is a concern among local citizenry about the use of illegal substances so close to their homes and the possible exploitation of young people with regards to the caravan rental. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, just from my own personal experience, I smell that odour wherever I go in Bristol, unfortunately. It seems to be the new Bristol sort of fog. I've smelt it with when I've got my windows open in the Lord Mayor's office, on College Green. I do agree with you on that, but I'm also agreeing that it is more alarming that there are these reports about caravans that are being offered for rent for people to actually live in. I'm not sure how we would do that. I would imagine that's probably a matter for the police or even I don't know.
Safeguarding. I mean, have these incidents been reported to the police?
I believe
Have
that
they got this intelligence?
I believe it has, and then we've been copied into reports that have gone to, I think, senior councillors, the elected mayor, and to the police. I can't check that.
So if there is a suspicion of exploitation, I would expect that to go to the safeguarding board. I mean, it's something for us to be aware of, but it isn't something for the Downs Committee to be getting involved in.
It would be nice to possibly have in some input from the police, to be honest. I don't know if they're ever invited to these meetings.
I haven't seen it.
But we talk about enforcement all the time, don't we? Whether it's parking, whether it's drugs, or whether it's illegal letting and so forth. Do we ever, Steve, in your experience, do we ever have the ASP?
I've been in other meetings, but not night since I've been doing it.
Maybe we could invite them along. Andrew?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, if we haven't already, could we perhaps liaise with the GRT team, the Gypsy Women Travelling Team, members of the council, because as part of their kind of, they know basically who most of the travelling community are, they have lots of contacts, and they would recognise if something suspicious was happening, and also they would do health checks as well as part of their investigations. So
They are very good.
them.
That's a good idea. Thanks, Andrew.
Sorry. Just not to muddle up the van dwellers in the travelling Roma community, because they are different entities. And Ben is always very, very keen to emphasise that. So they do have different needs. And
There might be a little overlap.
Would the van dwellers fall under the traveller component?
no.
Actually, they do.
Oh, I think they do.
New age travellers, are part of it. What we also have now, we've got a change in demographic apparently from what I've been told on the Downs. We do have people that just can't afford to rent in Bristol, work in Bristol, and are therefore using it as a way to live. I don't know whether the GRT have expanded themselves to deal with that or not, but we could definitely get them to come along. I can't remember the guy's name.
We have regular dealings with Bristol, so
yeah, of course. Well, maybe we could invite them along to the next meeting. Yeah, I mean, we're often talking about vandalism, so why not get the GRT team expertise down?
Could I do that? Admiral Mayor, FODAG has developed a pretty good working relationship with the England Somerset Police Team with responsibility for the Downs. That's the Inspector and Chief Inspector Noel. 3 police officers attended our AGM a couple of weeks ago, so they'd be quite happy to come along and explain to the Downs Committee how the Downs are actually policed. Perhaps I could mention that as a
thank you.
Come from the next meeting.
Again, maybe because I think this subject of van dwellers comes up time and time again, and it would be nice to get a multi-agency approach to see exactly what the problem is and how we are dealing with it now, because often enforcement is invisible, but does take place, as I'm sure they say. But
yes, the police who came here at our AGM when the police were interrogated as too strong, that they were questioning specifically about family. As far as the police are concerned, they consider it to be a council problem, but they will act on council instructions.
okay.
But they expect the council to take the lead unless there's clear criminal activity.
Okay. So we need to talk to our enforcement teams as well.
Chair, I'm sure there are people who've got terrible problems finding living accommodation in Bristol, and we know that that's the case. But the Downs is the most beautiful piece of open space we've got in the city, and you've got we're up to 70 vans. There are constant reports, anecdotal, but nevertheless constant, about all sorts of refuse and human waste being chucked in people's gardens and bushes. And it is fixable. If the council applied itself, there are loads of sites in and around the city which are not being developed at the moment, which could be used. But I suspect that some of the people are up there just like it because it's nice up there. And but it's turning the place into a caravan park.
Yeah, I do understand. I mean, but if I can add my own anecdotal experience, when I was in hospital, I had nursing assistants tell me that they were going to have to quit their jobs in the BRI because they couldn't afford to rent in Bristol.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right.
So it is, unfortunately, we've got this kind of perfect storm. So let's get the GRQ team in, let's hear what they've got to say, let's try and get ASP along as well, see what they've got to say, and then we can, because it's always difficult, you know, dealing with anecdotal evidence, but if it has been reported to the police, they'll have a record and they'll have a number of...
Ben's excuse could be checked from reverse, I should imagine, because he realised that people have got to clear it all up.
And me.
And
Yeah, okay. So we'll hear from Ben as well. We need to schedule an item on the agenda, I think. Because otherwise it just keeps coming up around the periphery, you know, and we don't actually deal with the problem itself. So if there is a solution, that's it. Okay, did you have any answer? That's fine. Okay, well, the next... Peter Wicks. And you've made 5 points. Do you want to put Peter in?
If I may.
Yeah, do you want to give us your précis on...
Sure. Okay. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Downs Committee. My name is Peter Weeks. As background, I was part of the group that brought the court case against opposed to zoo parking, which led to a court decision in May 2021. So I had an interest in parking on the Downs. I speak in support of the report of the Parking Task and Finish Group, and I think there are a few things to be said in addition on that. And the first point that's already come up is this question of the lack of enforcement of parking regulations on the Downs. In the FODAG newsletter, not the one that has just been handed out, the one before, there is a letter from a FODAG member to the FODAG newsletter quoting verbatim words spoken to this person by a parking services patrol person, saying, we don't do Parish Lane anymore, we never ticket the static caravans anyway, as there is never a number plate on them. As far as the vans on Savile Road go, we rarely bother coming up here, it's too much hassle. Nevertheless, cars still get tickets. There's a photograph of a car with a yellow parking ticket on it.
Yeah, I mean...
That is damaging.
Sorry, if I could just, on that point, obviously we have, I have no reason to doubt the truthfulness of that member. We have no way of knowing whether the parking warden actually said those well. That is an anecdotal evidence, but I'm not discounting it either.
Oh. Well, if we accept that it is happening, I would say to this committee that is extremely damaging for Downs, as Ms. Freed said, and it is unfair to law-abiding people who park their cars normally. So the question of enforcement is a priority. Any parking policy that this committee chooses to set or change is futile without enforcement to follow through. The second point is about the 5-hour free parking period. Some of this committee may not be aware that that 5 hours was set at the express request of the zoo. The zoo is now gone. There is nothing now to stop us reducing that from 3 hours to 2 hours, which I suggest might provide greater amenity to visitors to the Downs, bona fide visitors. But that links up with my third point, which is about the future of the former Zoo North car park. This is part of the Downs. I believe the Downs Committee needs to generate income by making the North car park into a chargeable car park for bona fide visitors to the Downs, and do that, as is suggested in the report, in conjunction with a commercial parking operator. There are numerous benefits in that approach, and by reducing the free parking period from 5 hours to 3 hours, even 2 hours, that would tend to drive more income towards a paying car park. I am well aware from looking at the sea of red ink in the financial report that this committee is facing serious financial difficulties. So I commend that idea. I think we should follow that through. And finally, my point is about the closing of Circular Road. I believe that would enjoy wide support in public. There's been people who've spoken at this committee before. Vicky Cracknell, nothing to do with me, but from Cycle Sunday. They are closing Circular Road, I think that will be a useful step forward and help improve the amenity of the Downs, which is what this committee is all about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask anyone here?
No.
Brilliant. Okay, thank
Do
you.
they have any questions to ask them?
No.
Do you have a copy of the newsletter?
It's not the recent one, it's the last one. I don't have a copy, no. It's anecdotal. That's the previous one.
This is what we see.
Thank you. Okay, and then finally, we'll move on to Adam. Adam here? Adam, you've made a statement about the parking task finish group. It's quite a short statement. Do you have any questions you want to ask?
I do have any
We've already
questions,
discussed
but I
it.
have a short statement to make.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I only became aware of the meeting and the proposed resolution late on Friday morning. I would like to speak in opposition to the recommendations of the parking task and finish group. And I've just got a few simple points to make. One of the purposes, if not the purpose, of the proposed arrangement, as we've heard, and it doesn't matter whether it's one of the purposes or the purpose, is to produce a revenue stream for the downs. The arrangements, number two, the arrangements involve a commercial operator paying the Downs Committee a percentage of parking revenues. Three, the order that was made on Susan Carter's judicial review proceedings specifically provides that the order does not impose any obligation on the part of the merchant registrars or the Downs Committee or the City Council to check the premises in which any person parks, has parked or will park on the North Car Park. That is understandable and common sense, because in practice it would be impossible to tell the people the purpose for which people are. But the arrangements have a purpose of deriving a revenue stream, in part, from people parking on the North Car Park for non-Downs purposes. Indeed, the revenue stream will be all the greater for the more that people park on that car park for reasons other than accessing the Downs. And in that event, by making these arrangements, you would be facilitating and encouraging the use of the North Car Park for people to undertake non-Downs activities. And on any construction of the undertaking which was given by the Downs Committee and the City Council to the claimant in those proceedings, that would constitute a breach of the undertaking. And even if it wasn't a breach of the undertaking, which I think it clearly is, it would, for the reasons which were advanced in the judicial review proceedings, be unlawful.
Well, we will be discussing it, and I'm sure Mike will address some of these points,
Sure.
if not all of these points,
Okay,
a bit later on.
thank you.
Did you have any questions you wanted to ask?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes public forum. Okay. And who is making a report on this one? We've got a report to Downs Committee, but is this just a report for noting?
The advisory panel is the Downs advisory panel? Yeah. Or what should we
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've got a change of answer to make. We've got the report to the Downs Committee. So we've obviously got the report in our papers, but I didn't know if you wanted to say anything on this.
Well, basically, what that's okay, and perhaps for the new members, to the committee. I'm Robert Westwick, and I'm the chair of the Downs Advisory Panel. The Downs Advisory Panel was set up by the Downs Committee to act as a conduit between Downs neighbours, Downs users, and to offer advice and recommendations to the Downs Committee. Since the November meeting of the Downs Committee, the DAP has not received sufficient significant inquiries to justify covering of full reason of the panel. Basically, we get many inquiries, but most of them are of the same nature. Most of them do with family, antisocial behaviour, and one or two other issues, but not enough to justify calling the panel together. However, that does not mean that the panel has not been busy. We're still busy dealing with all sorts of different inquiries. We've had something like 30 emails, more than a dozen phone calls. And I think what's has been quite noticeable is people have been pleased that they've actually found a human being that they can speak to. We very often sort of ring the council up and press option 1, press option 2. I know I've tried it myself. So very pleased that they can actually get a response and actually get a problem solved. And one of the things where I've seen now the Downs Advisory Panel involved is taking some of the responsibility not away from the Downs Committee, but speeding up some of the actions. I think we actually had one report of some shrubbery that's fallen out from the road opposite the, strangely enough, the North Car Park. And I rang Bennett and he said it has been done within the last 2 hours. And I was able to get back to the inquiry. We couldn't believe that I actually got something done that quick.
That's good to hear.
I think it was mentioned earlier, I think it's important going forward that the advisory panel is able to demonstrate its effectiveness by receiving regular updates and feedback from the Downs Committee about progress on any of the recommendations that have been made by DAP. Obviously I get asked by our FODAP members is, well, what does the DAP do? What does the Downs Committee do about anything that you recommend? And we do see that there are 1 or 2 things that have actually have been adopted by the Downs Committee, by the Task and Finish group, and we're very pleased about that. I think maybe the Downs Committee should also be aware, because I've been made aware via the panel, that the Downs resident has in fact lodged a complaint with the Ombudsman against Bristol City Council for a de facto overriding planning for the encampment on the Downs based upon its permits. I've no idea what that means, but I'm sure our lawyers will be able to tell us. But there is now this complaint that's actually been lodged with the Ombudsman. So, in conclusion, committee, the panel are pleased to see the conclusion of the parking task finished group, and we look forward to commenting further on the report. We do have perhaps some further recommendations that we could possibly make. And if the North Car Park is going to be used as a commercial enterprise, let's make it a commercial enterprise. Why is there no thought, perhaps, like the electric charging points, which would seem to make some sort of logical sense? Why not a coffee cart in there, like they have both ends of the suspension bridge? We see opportunities perhaps that are being missed in terms of the way that income can be generated. I think possibly in the next meeting of the Downs Advisory Panel, which also will be 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the next Downs Committee meeting, we may be able to come up with some recommendations to further increase perhaps the viability of the Downs, and given what financial reports say, I think we need to at least consider every possible avenue. Thank you, Committee.
No, thank you. Did you have any questions for anyone here?
Nothing further at the moment.
And does anybody have any questions on the Downs Advisory Panel?
If I can just pick up on Robert's last point. The 2 task and finish groups were already constituted before the DAP came into existence. And I'm certainly as chair of one of them really conscious that we didn't engage with you as perhaps we should have done. Going forward, I suggest we need to resolve here that whenever there is a task and finish group, we'll engage with you in early course and build you into the discussion. And secondly, depending on the decision on item 13, if we are taking that forward within the E&F subcommittee, I would be really happy if I'm ready to come to the next DAP and hear what you've got to say.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's brilliant, thank you very much. And yeah, I think we all agree that involving the DAP now it's been set up in the task and finish groups would be a very sensible idea.
Chair, can I clarify the statement that de facto overruling planning in camp? I mean, so effective, correct me if I'm wrong, effectively there's a complaint that's gone in saying lack of enforcement against van dwellers has now met the criteria, whatever that is, for being a permanent encampment.
Okay, yeah.
Is that, have I understood that?
Yeah, the word is, what I've checked as...
Yeah, it's legally stuff, yeah. But that's effectively what's happened.
Well, yeah, I don't know what the full interpretation of it is, but the wording of the text is the text, as I received it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we can find out, because obviously if that's been lodged with the LGO, then I'm presuming they would have then been in touch with us to find out exactly what was going on. So again, we can try and find that out for the next meeting.
I'd say if this is a live complaint that's sitting with the Ombudsman, presumably against Bristol City Council, because in the planning department, while it's certainly of interest to us all, I think it might be as well to keep out of that until it's been resolved.
But we just need possibly to find out what the
yeah, I'm certainly interested to find out, but I'm not sure which one that the Downs Committee should get too involved in.
No, I agree. Thank you, Steve. Okay.
That was the excuse for it. It was the delivery of a report, it's not you.
So agenda item 9 we can't move with this. Yeah. So that's fine. We'll move on to agenda item 10, which is the events update. We'll be reporting on this one. Thank you.
Hello. The confirmed events as sent out is now complete, and the Thunder World event in the summer is to be confirmed. And we have now confirmed they'll be attending, so they're coming twice this year. So we now have Thunder World in the spring, the graduation ball in May, June weekend, Race for Life and Lady Boys of Bangkok, Pride for 2 days. In July, the food event, Feast on It, 2nd and 4th of August, the Massive Attack concert on the 24th or 25th of August, and then Forwards Festival the following weekend, the Student Union Welcome Fair, and then the Circus, which is the same people as came last year, and they just confirmed their dates as well, September to October.
Brilliant. I'm aware that because of my stay in hospital, I missed everything last summer, which is rather unfortunate. And all these things now take place after I finished being Lord Mayor, but there you go. Maybe another one anyway. And we've got one complaint citing.
Yeah, when Forwards was announced they would have a mass attack the weekend before, somebody expressed concern about the noise because they've been affected by the noise from the Forwards Festival. And my colleague got back to them, and when Forwards happened last year, they relocated one of the stages and they hadn't taken the consultation quite far enough, so this person was outside of it, and now they'll be within, and they've been put in contact with Forwards organisers to ensure that they're talking about contact methods.
Do we have any questions about it? Kai?
Yeah, can I just ask about the circus? Because obviously previously we were running a tender for that, weren't we?
Yeah.
So what happened with that? Was this chosen by a tender, was it, or was it a different process?
It was a tender. No, it was changed, wasn't it?
It was reported at the last meeting there was some good reason why a tender didn't need to happen. I can't remember what that good reason was.
So it was applications to have the circus there this year. And I think there was only a handful of people applied.
Okay. You have any other questions?
Yeah, just wondering if we'll be responding to the massive attack email that we received regarding a decarbonisation proposal they've got for their concerts.
That's
I guess
all
we've all
discussion,
seen
I
that.
think, at another meeting.
Okay.
I don't think I saw that.
So what's the response to the question?
Yeah, you were emailed as well.
They want to install the solar thing, that generalised power to.
Excellent. I think all the brands are becoming a little bit more carbon conscious, shall we say. A lot of these tours are carbon free now, carbon neutral at least. Okay. So moving on to the Downs Events and Finance subgroup financial reports.
It's the, that's right, item number 11.
That's Kevin J.
Thank you, Matt. So, we've got to report at the front, so just to pick out some of the key points. Gross income 23-24 is currently forecast to be in deficit by about 24k. And expenditure is forecast to be overspent by about 141k. So there's a net deficit of about 165k. The last report it was 146. Expenditure pressures are forecast to occur from outbound working pay awards and higher premises costs, including buildings, R&M, ground maintenance, cleaning and engine costs. Income pressures are forecast to occur from changes in a couple of income-generating events, lower attendance, and for next year, 24-25 events team will be working hard with new providers to improve positions we heard in the last report. Expenditure needs to be addressed if we're going to reduce the significant overspend. So it's recommended that we have a review really of our spending, perhaps in the subgroup.
Okay. And in terms of the deficit, how is that made up?
So on table 2, on the other side, there's a bit more detail around the categories of spend.
Oh, no, I mean, how is that deficit covered? Who covers that deficit?
Well, if we can't generate any further income, it will be picked up under the Parks Service and the Bristol City Council. So the second report on page 19 is a look at the budget for next year, 24-25. And the actual budget is going to remain the same as 23-24. But this is going to result in a deficit of about 169k based on current expenditure that continues as prior previous years. Lost income from the North Car Park should be mitigated from some new events that they've lined up, as long as the fees are as per expectations. If income of 395k can't be generated, it won't cover the estimated cost of 564k. So we need to either generate further revenue, or again, it's going to be a process of looking at our expenditure, see if we can trim some costs for next year.
Steve. One question and one comment here. What assumption is built into the budget or the forecast at the moment in terms of the North Car Park opening?
0.
Okay, so if we can pull our finger out and get something moving, that potentially
Yes.
upside, if we get that done. Yeah, okay. My comment really, which is, I feel a bit like it's stuck record, this is probably the fourth cycle of this I've been through. I said the same thing every time. But when it comes to reducing costs, I far rather actually increase revenue, which is what the down rule is there to do if we ever get it. But in terms of cutting costs, pretty much all of our expenditure is spent through Bristol City Council, mostly through the Park Department, with honourable exceptions. And what we said several times is we are just too removed to sit around this table and start slashing lines out of the budget to try and cut revenue. If the Parks Department come to us with proposals for savings, that's a conversation that we can have and we can discuss to the degree of velocity. But if that doesn't happen, there's not a lot that we can do sitting here to reduce that expenditure. And so far in the 4 years I think I've been on this committee, no proposals have ever come forward for any way that we could reduce expenditure. So we're stuck with what we've got unless that happens. I'm not saying we would like those proposals that did come forward, but it's a start.
Yeah, just to point out that that's been raised with John James.
I'm not letting you.
No, that's fine. And I met with him briefly before Christmas when this report was put together. And he's we're meeting again in a week or so to start having a look at some of these costs to see where we can potentially trim. He wants to bring some options to the subgroup to have that discussion.
We also have the Mark Agreement possibility of like other councils have completely cut their park spending. So what happens if that happens? If parks come forward and say no, we've got nothing.
Well, this is the bigger question that, again, you've also said many times, is that we've got this 165, 169 next year. Under the legislation, the council does have a responsibility to fund that up to a point. And again, the big question that's never been answered is, what is that point and how willing is the council to fund the downs, and what should, if that number shouldn't be a deficit of 169, what should it be? That effectively is the council's contribution to looking after the downs.
And again, we will have a different system next year, so who knows how the community system are going to... Anyway, do we have any other questions to go in? Christine?
My question is in relation to the list under the support services. It's kind of near the bottom on the left. So there's various things that are kind of listed under that, but the second largest spend is listed as other. And I'm just wondering why, if you're listed HR as spending 50 quid and IT is spending nothing, I think maybe as a committee we need to be interested in what the 27,000 and the 19,500 is being spent on. You see where I'm talking about?
Yeah. There's a little note to say, but we can try and split that out a bit further. It's just on our accounting system. There's a line that just says other people charge stuff in, particularly around that part technical support, asset management costs, and tree works. So it's just.
So, because I'm wondering how that's different to parks management. You see, because in my head, nothing, if the parks are maintaining the area, then surely they are doing something to the trees, I would suggest.
Yeah, I think the park management is more about the management support team, managing Ben and his team.
What you mean, staff management?
Yeah, I think it's a recharge sort of management time, managing the grounds and stuff. John James will have apply a little bit of his time having one-to-ones and things with Ben.
Yeah, again, maybe we need to try and find a category specific for that rather than, as you say, just get as other. It seems a bit strange. I'm glad that you put the note covering it, but
I can get that further.
Okay. Lord Mayor, can I suggest, would you be able to bring this to the ENF in a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
So on behalf of the wider committee, we can dig into this?
Yeah. That'd be good. Do we have any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you for that, Kevin. We now on to agenda item 12, which is Anne, is that you?
Hopefully a little bit more positive. So we did have, I'm talking about the end of November and December because that's the period that we'll cover here since the last meeting. We had quite a quiet December and end of November. Two of our events were cancelled, which was really very sad. One through illness of the event leader and the other because of the poor weather for our stargazing party. However, we have rejigged that. I completely changed the format and we're having it in February inside. so that we didn't lose the big audience that we had gained of 60 people for that. I really didn't want
That's
to
the
lose.
Stargaze.
Yeah, and we're doing it
Feel
in.
free to buy the law now on Saturday.
The law
I'm
is
really
very
quite
welcome.
interested.
It's on the 13th of February with all the half-termers. Yes, that's so that's the second year in a row this event was cancelled. The first time I wasn't in post, and I thought that's ridiculous. You can't have an event which is cancelled 2 years in a row. So we've changed it, and it will happen. And we'll go outside if we can, and if not, we'll be inside. So that keeps our audience. So that's nice and positive coming out of that. We had our first A-level pilot session, which was fabulous. Went really well. We'll be introducing. We have introduced secondary now into the offer that we give to schools. So that's great. That was a success, and I can see that working nicely now. We did our final few days in school. We went into a couple of schools last year to trial going in, taking the workshops to schools instead of them coming to us. That was great. It was really good. We give an assembly to the whole school, so we reach a massive audience, plus teachers who know nothing about the wildlife of the Avon Gorge and Downs. And it's totally bespoke, so we fixed our programme to their curriculum, but connected to the Downs. So, for example, I did a workshop on the European eel, because we have elvers coming up the channel, looking at life cycles.
That's a lovely bit of feedback that you've got there as well.
It was a nice bit of feedback, wasn't it? I think so too. So our preschool age sessions, we finished our Christmas session. As you can see, they made wreaths, which was lovely. And we started again today. We had our new preschool term started today. We're fully booked, which is fantastic. Beautiful, luckily, a beautiful day for our first session. That's going really nicely. We're engaging with 2 to 4 year olds plus their adult, so we're reaching a new audience that then travel with us the whole way through. That's the aim of it. The sessions are on the Downs, and they are following the seasonal nature of the Downs and what's happening with the wildlife. NatureWorks is the off-the-record contact we've had. It's been quite slow getting going this, to be honest. Because they want to keep it quite open to their young people, so whether they attend or not is up to the young people. So we just need to try and find a space where that's going to work, because I can't set aside a day where someone may not turn up. But hopefully we can do something with that in the summer holidays. That's the plan. I'm still waiting to hear from the Adoption West. I can't push it, I keep pushing it, there's nothing I can do, I can't force them to come if they're not ready to do it. Our bird survey carries on, our social media carries on, that's all going well because we're now analysing it a little bit better. This year's our 25th anniversary of the project of the Avon Gorge and Downs Wildlife. We want to do the tree trail by the observatory. We want to revamp that one in conjunction with Sarah's Wildlife Project, and I would like to try and put into place a sponsorship of 3x3 squares of the Downs and Avon Gorge, which might need some approval from the committee, as in the sense that people are giving us some money so that they sponsor a small area. It's a known pattern, other organisations trying to raise money to do it. I haven't looked into the details yet because I think I need approval really before I do that. But I know that other organisations do it, and I think it's a good idea, and I think we could do it in a way that the areas people are sponsoring, they can go and see, so there wouldn't be a cliff face, for example. It would be a part of the Downs or the gully that they can access. And it would be, I imagine, a slow build. But if it's a sponsorship, obviously there's nothing to do with ownership in there, it is a sponsorship. And people can go and look and report back any issues around their area. They can go and pick up the litter from their spot. So I wanted to put that out there as an option. We want to keep, as an engagement learning section of the project, we want to keep ourselves financially viable. And that's one way of doing it, or at least helping to do it. So that's the 25th anniversary this year. We checked on Sparks with the Botanical Garden before Christmas to make sure it was ready for the Christmas holidays. It's fine. It's still going. It's ongoing. It's going to stay there for a while. So that's a little bit of engagement with Broadmead. And that's it really, except for I've just taken resignation of my officer, sadly, who has got a fantastic new job, which is definitely funded, which we weren't sure whether funding was going ahead for us next from April. And so she's got a funded position which she knows is going to be funded, and it's a full-time position. She was very part-time with me, and I'm very delighted on her behalf, but very sad for the project to lose her, because she was a great asset. She is a great asset to the project. I think that's it. Otherwise, we just wait to hear if we've got any funding from him.
Thank you. I noticed on the Smarts project, you've contacted the Heart BS13, which is in the ward I represent, Heart of the Millwood. So if you have any problems getting in touch, do they?
Yeah, they haven't got back to me. I've tried twice, but because they did a fantastic sculpture in front, right next to ours, which we discovered. And we should have a collaboration going on. Yeah, definitely.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, the other thing I ought to mention, thank you very much, Luna, is that the review went out on Friday, just gone, the final review that includes the Nature Conservation Officer from Bristol City Council, includes her section as well in it. Because the one you got with the initial papers was rushed, not quite finished. This one should be finished.
Thank you. And also the bird survey, isn't there a RSPB one or something?
There's a British...
26 to 28.
There is a BTO, Breeding Bird Survey, on the Downs, but there's not a monthly survey. So we want to have a monthly survey so we can see changes. It's useful to see what's going on with biodiversity, because as soon as you start having impact, if you start having impact on the trophic levels, and start having impact on the plants, you start having impact on the vertebrates, the seeds, you start losing the birds, and they're a very, very good indicator of what's going on. So I think over a 5-year period, it's all registered with the British Trust for Ornithology, so it's all online. So you can go in and you can look at it. Patrick Despard, I gave him details on how to get into it, to look at it, so he was really interested. You do need a password to get in, which you're very welcome to have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, Fran?
Steve? First of all, I just wanted to thank you for everything you do, particularly Alan Flores spent an afternoon back in November, I think.
Yeah,
where we spent the afternoon with Adam and had a bit of a, improved our own knowledge and had a bit of a walk around the Downs. That was time very well spent, so thank you for letting us do that. And I certainly recommend to other members the opportunity to come again.
It was very good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. The 3x3 thing. As far as I'm concerned, and this is a fundraiser for Avon Gorge Downs Wildlife Project as opposed to the Downs, which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any advantage. As long as it's very clear that people sponsoring the patch don't actually acquire any rights, so they can't turn and dig it up.
That's the main,
then I don't see why we would have any issue with that at all.
You don't want them turning up saying we're having a picnic now.
Yeah, this is why you don't
No. That's why the word sponsorship is very much.
If that's purely
Yes.
a fundraiser for you, then I'm not sure why we would be concerned.
We need to keep ourselves in the black.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks. And I also just want to say thank you for that excellent report and so many things happening in the location. It's just really good to see.
Good.
Especially like the outreach to schools. You mentioned Stoke Park Primary. And I'm just wondering, do you go further afield? I think I saw another report, you go elsewhere as well in terms of engagement with schools. It's not just schools adjacent to the Downs, but all over Bristol and beyond.
Well, the Stoke Park Primary and the Headley Park Primary in the Cathedral Schools Trust, they're the highest level of FS6 FSM children. So that's why I approached them initially. And they are nowhere near them. I mean, they're a long way from the Downs, both of them. Yeah. The idea is, yes, to try and do this every winter. to go into different schools. And also the idea really is to try and get them to come back to the Downs in the summer, if we can, you know, complement the in-school visit. To be honest, it's a lot of work. It's a huge amount of work, and it takes up quite a lot of time because you go in for 3 or 4 days to cover all the different year groups. So I really want to do it again, but it'll be a winter thing when we're not doing much else. And it probably, hopefully, I'd hope to go to sort of 4 schools or something like that a year. It's just trying to take them. A lot of those children, like the teacher said, and then, you know, in her feedback, a lot of those children, they don't know where the Downs are and haven't been there. And it's really nice to show them what an amazing, biodiverse green spot they have in their city, which is unique in Britain. It's the top 3 botanical sites in Britain, which is often overlooked. It's a very important site. So.
Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions? Thank you very much for your report. Much appreciated. Now, agenda item 13, I believe.
Right, shall I very briefly speak to this? Assuming that everybody's read it. It is deliberately a short report, but we did spend an awful lot of time thinking and talking and consulting about this, and not least with officers in the council, and in particular Patsy Mellor. So in a nutshell, the conclusions are there in the recommendations section of the report, which the Task and Finish Group would very much like this committee to resolve to adopt. And they are recognising that the Downs Committee has absolutely no rights over the highway and no powers, but also recognising that the van dwellers mean that the Downs Committee's budget is significantly impacted by their presence. We would like it if this committee asked the council to apply and enforce a parking limit on the roads around the Laguna Downs. Charges against them. We suggested a 3-hour parking limit. In subsequent discussion, it's worth highlighting that the reason we came up with 3 hours was to make sure that we didn't in any way impact on the Downs League. But thinking about it, it could be a 2-hour limit, save for the times in the week when the Downs League are playing, and then it could be 3. And that would probably make it an easier limit to enforce, and it would also increase the chances of Downs users using the North Car Park. Secondly, again, it's only an aspiration and it's not our business, because we don't have any business over the roads, but we do strongly believe that closing Circular Road to most traffic would hugely improve amenity. The North Car Park, long term, that's going to be an incredibly important asset once the Downs Hub is open. And with a falling wind, there's no reason at all why the Downs Hub shouldn't be open within 3 years, possibly even less than that. It slightly depends on the terms of the 106 and how quickly the developer of the zoo site is required to deliver the Downs Hub. But if those negotiating the 106 can make sure that there's an obligation to bring it on right at the beginning, that would be really good. And certainly, as I understand it, the zoo would like it to be provided early on, because it suits them to have a place where they can continue to do the good work that they do on the Downs. So the only question is what happens to the North Car Park in the interim. Since the closure of the zoo, as everybody knows, there's a whopping great hole in the Downs Committee's budget of, well, pre-COVID, it looked like there was an income stream of about 140,000 a year coming from the zoo, and we've heard that that's now zero. It used to be about 40% of the total costs of this committee. Obviously, post-COVID, costs have gone up, and revenue has gone down because the zoo is closed. We've got to do something about driving more revenue. And we need to have the car park operating as a car park in the interim, because if it isn't operated as a car park, it will be home to all sorts of antisocial, unhelpful activities. So it can be there in accordance with the court order, doing what it's done for the last 60 years. And the suggestion to engage with a commercial operator is simply that, firstly, the council doesn't want to operate this car park. Secondly, whoever operates it has got to find some capital to put in automatic number plate recognition and other equipment, and to put in place enforcement capacity, and the council's got no money to do that. And thirdly, if the council did run it, they would have no power to hypothecate income, so it benefits the Downs. So for all those reasons, a commercial operator will front load the capital costs, pay approaching 100% of the revenue to the Downs Committee, and take charge of enforcement. Managing that space with skin in the game is the option most likely to ensure that it remains properly used and properly policed. So our final recommendation is that this committee should task the Finance and Events Subcommittee to negotiate and conclude a management agreement with a commercial operator.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask a question on the fourth recommendation about task the Finance and Events Subcommittee to negotiate and conclude a management agreement with the commercial operator for the period until the Down is part of its operational? Does that mean that the commercial operator wouldn't operate it once the wildlife hub is there, or would they continue to do so?
Well, this is an interim, what we're proposing is an interim solution.
I think that this is an interim, as Mike said, it's an interim position, but the likelihood would be that you sit down once the hub is open, you work out what the usage is in connection with the hub, and work out a fresh deal.
Thanks. Okay, now questions? Steve?
Yeah, thank you. I support the recommendations here, no issue. I want to add something perhaps, if this is something you'd already considered, but on the group. On number one, the 3-hour parking limit, I don't have a problem with 3 hours or 2 hours, frankly, but what parking services have told me is the problem, the reason they don't or can't enforce now isn't the parking duration, it's the no return time. So at the moment it's 5 hours, no return within 2. And what happens is you see a car there at 12 o'clock, you see it's still there at 5:30, you put a ticket on it, they'll claim that they went away for 2 hours in the middle and came back and started a new set of 5 hours. And unless you can prove that's not true, which it usually isn't, but unless you can prove it, the ticket gets overturned. And that's where I think the comment comes from that we heard about, we don't bother with parish lane, it's too much hassle. I think that's probably what that was pointing at, is they just get overturned. So, obviously it's not in our gift, but if we're going to make an ask of the council in terms of changing the restrictions, I think that's the key bit actually, that no return time, whether it's 2 hours or 3 hours, if it's no return within 12 hours, that stops that and makes it more enforceable.
So the wording's important.
Yeah, thanks Steve. I confess that that's a point of technical detail that did not occur to the
It's amazing what you learn as a walk council. And the other one, just in terms of the negotiation with a commercial operator, fine, that happened within finance and events. I would just caution completing it and signing it off within finance and events without it coming here as a public meeting to be completed. And if I might add one more, closing circular road, I'm quite happy for us to take that forward as an ambition. I would suggest it might not be quite as universally popular as being suggested in public forum. With my Downs Committee hat on, I totally see the logic. With my ward councillor hat on, I suspect I find myself representing a lot of people who would be very unhappy with that idea, and that's just something we'll have to deal with in the long run.
But it's, as an ambition, it's okay.
Oh, I'm certainly happy with it in this stage.
Do you have any other question? Christine?
Yeah, Mark, so I've got a question in relation to point 1. Currently, there is no charge to park, however long, whatever the current restrictions are on the Downs. So what you're asking here is for existing enforcement officers to go and do the enforcement. I think I'm the only councillor here that represents an area that's got an RPZ where residents pay to park, and I would be reluctant to stretch that resource for the enforcement of parking officers away from residential areas whereby the enforcement is also needed. They need on a daily basis where the income is coming from that parking operational model. So why is it that we're not suggesting that we start charging people to park on the Downs? Why is that?
Only because we don't think it's our business. I mean, I absolutely take your point, Christine, but it seems to us that as the Downs Committee, there's an output, part of the solution that we're after, and how the council gets itself there, and what kind of regulation and charging and all that is just not a matter for us.
Okay, so you're asking the council to do this, and one of the solutions could be to start charging.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then that will get around in 2 hours. Because if you haven't got a valid ticket in your window, you're getting a parking ticket, aren't you? Simple as that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we come back to the dreaded E word of enforcement, don't we? And whether or not we have the capabilities of enforcing it,
I know, but without an income coming from the parking, what you're asking us to do as councillors is to stretch an already stretched resource away from residents who are paying for that enforcement through the RPZ ticketing. Well, and I suppose businesses as well. In terms of the last one, there has been a suggestion from Public Forum that this would be challengeable against the judicial review. I'm just wondering what the response is from. I don't know because I've not been involved in it, but I think it's something that needs to be explored because the idea that we would get challenged again on this is not something that I'm willing to entertain.
Quite right. So, as you'll note, the recommendation is that the use would be compliant with the court order. So if it's not compliant, then we wouldn't recommend that we do it. Now, Adam makes the point that there's no requirement on the council or the Downs Committee to check the purposes of the people parking there. That's quite right. We took some considerable care to make sure that was in there. Equally, it was that consent order, Adam, was the result of a long negotiation, and it was entered into by the Downs Committee in good faith, confident that the order would permit long-term use of the North Car Park for parking paid for Downs visitation. That was absolutely the point of it. So, we'll do what's necessary to comply with the order.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah,
I don't want to get involved in a debate with Mike about it because we argue about legal matters. All I'm saying is that if you implement this, you are being very brave. That's all I'm saying, because there is a high possibility of a legal challenge. Now, I haven't got a crystal ball. I wouldn't be the judge. None of us would be the judge. But I think that when you look at the purpose of this, it is self-evident, and the discussion that's happened indicates that it's a revenue-generating operation, and I completely understand that, bearing in mind the shortage of funds. But if that's a purpose of this, to generate a revenue stream, it is in breach, as I see it, of the terms of the undertaking. And if it is, even if it isn't in breach of the undertaking, it's contrary to the outcome of all the evidence that led to the consent order made at the conclusion of the judicial review proceedings. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. And obviously I do have a legal background.
but yes, and I was one of the members of this committee that led the Downs Committee on the litigation, but I certainly wasn't there as a lawyer. It was never my kind of law, so I'm not able to respond to the technical points you make. All I would say is that at the time, well, I've said it already, we entered into this arrangement in good faith, confident that it would enable us to do this going forward. It would be surprising to me if the order was interpreted in the way that you suggest. The other thing I'd just remind everybody about is that we didn't submit to a judgment on the merits of Mrs. Carter's litigation at all. This was just a consent order on the basis of which everybody dropped hands and walked away, and no more expense was incurred in a piece of litigation which we all felt was completely misconceived and already cost a lot of money. There were lots of...
You pay the costs.
Anyway, that's...
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've said as much as I should say, to be honest.
Please, yeah. Right, did you finish?
I finished.
Okay.
Can I just have a follow-up question then? So if paid for parking was to be installed on the adopted roads across the Downs, that revenue would go into the councils. There isn't a mechanism whereby that come back to the Downs.
No.
So the North car park is the only way to bring in. Right. Okay.
And we've heard about the budget situation. Do we have any expected income from the commercial operator?
No, I don't think we do, because everything depends on what happens to the roads.
Okay.
Can I just add something? Is that okay?
Yeah, please do.
The Conservation Hub will need parking, and even in the interim until then, I need parking for my attendees to the events. If we want to open the Downs up to the public as much as possible, then it is useful to have parking available to people who want to engage and enjoy the Downs, which is what they're partly there for. So I think that's also quite important to note, that in the interim it will be very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And although we have no, concrete dates or anything, I would imagine the Wildlife Hub will be one of the first things, because they're using the existing building, they're using the zoo entrance building.
Yes.
So, we're not waiting for the whole development to be built necessarily.
But it's also the case that it's quite possible for the council to ask for the 106 to be conditional upon it being provided before any housing is occupied.
Agreed. Sorry, I can't take anything. I'll take your one because I did take the other one. So
I'll just offer a point of information in the answer to a question about income. In November, I saw a website that was selling car park space on the zoo site. The zoo is subcontracting car parking space, £5 a day. There are 200 car parking spaces on the zoo site. It's about £1,000 a day. 300 days a year, that's £300,000. That's a figure to start with.
thank you. Do we have any questions?
Can I add something? In my previous role to my current role, I set up and ran Rocky Yard Film Studios, which is a council-owned film studio in South Bristol. And film-related activity brought over £20 million into the city in 21-22. It could be more than that, I think, for last year, 22-23. That car park is used for film-related activity. There are very few places in the city that the support vehicles can park, and I'm sure, Steve, you know this from your colleagues at the Film Office, that sort of space to get the support vehicles off the roads and into a contained space is much needed and also very lucrative. So I would just ask that whatever arrangement is made with a commercial operator is that they bear that in mind and consider that activity, because it can be very lucrative for actually a very short amount of time and very little management. They are usually very, very good at moving sites tidy so they can come back again. So I just ask that there is some consultation with the operator, proposed operator, to consider that as well.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, it has to
As
be
a
done.
dance-related activity, absolutely, but they do use the dance for filming. You know, if it is film-related, if it is dance-related activity, it needs to be.
I mean, recently they were filming Clifton College, and they used that site. And I just wonder what happened to the money that they were paying to use that.
What is it? I think it was still with the zoo.
Still with the zoo.
Still with the zoo,
yeah.
It was the end of the...
But going forward, they wouldn't be able to use that unless it was specifically for the day.
Yeah.
I think the ironically, where film crews used to park was on the extension of Paris Lane, which is now not open to them because it's full of van dwellers.
That used to be where that all went. I used to take units up there.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or statements on this? Okay. So we do have 4 recommendations. What would be the appetite to take them as one? Is that okay? I'll have a vote on that then. Okay, so the recommendations are, number 1, to ask the council to apply and enforce a 3-hour parking limit on the roads around and within the
And with the extended no return, if I may, as well as to that.
Okay.
Yes, well, that's the point.
Yeah,
I want to investigate charging.
Yeah.
Well, except that's for the council.
Yes.
We're just making an ask.
I know, but we are in... If that's what you're asking, what you're likely to get back is what I've just challenged. What the challenge is to go out of my map, because that's what's likely. Because I will do, because if that came to me, I'd say, well, fine, but you need to give the council a way of enabling enforcement to happen, which is not there at the moment. So
I absolutely defer to these councillors.
I don't think we have a problem with that. Okay. The only question I was going the only point I was going to make was, given the discussion earlier, if we could just amend that first point to say 3 hours at certain times and 2 hours the rest of the time.
You don't think that might be a bit confusing for people?
Well, you can make it 3 hours on Saturday.
I suggest it's in line with RPZs, which is next door to the Downs, because the one in whatever it is. I think it's up to 4 hours. I think they're allowed to park, but whatever it is, so it's easier for whoever it is that's put in, because there'll have to be a TRO and all that kind of stuff in there that goes along with it. So there's going to be needs and capital that the council's going to have to be willing to put into this in order for that to then be charged. And if it's in line with what's already there as much as possible, that would probably be the best option.
I think some RPZs are different though. I mean, I know the one in Bedminster, for example, you're not allowed to park there at all if you're not a resident.
Yeah.
So,
could I suggest that we just ask the council to apply and enforce a parking limit on the roads?
And then just get back to it.
And let them decide what it is. Yeah, all parking sets have got residents only, but all of this would be paid for.
And then, you know, if they take it up, we can have a discussion about charge.
Yeah, because obviously if they don't do it, we're a bit stymied for the rest of it, to be honest. Okay, I'm happy to, are you happy to amend that to just say to enforce a parking limit rather than a 3-hour?
Yeah.
To let the council then come back and say what they think they could enforce. So having changed the recommendation 1, are there any, before we go on, Anna, sorry, you had your hand up.
Oh, it's not relevant now, but just to say that 2 hours isn't enough for my events.
No.
So,
And
3 hours
if
would
you're
be.
playing football as well, I don't think 2
Yeah.
hours would be enough. So I think 3 hours is probably sensible, but we may have to wait until what the council advises us on that. And again, we come back to this e-work enforcement, as to whether or not they can do it. Because if everybody's parking there and not getting a ticket. Okay, so we've amended the first recommendation. As I said, are there any other questions or comments before we take a vote on this? Okay, I'd like to propose that we accept the recommendations with the change to number 1, Steve. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Steve? Sorry.
Steve.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favour? Just let Steve do it here. Yeah, we're done. Okay. All those against? And any abstentions? Okay. So the recommendations are passed.
And if Paula O'Rourke was here, she would suggest, with which I've already agreed, that at the F&E subcommittee we should invite Patsy Mellon to come and help us.
That sounds eminently sensible. Do we know that on there for us, please?
Yeah.
Patsy Mellon's been invited. Okay, I think that's the end of the agenda, isn't it?
AOB or in next week.
Okay. Any other business first off? Does anybody have anything else that hasn't been raised that they want to raise?
I just got one bit of AOB from the minutes of the last meeting. Somebody going to check whether the seawalls loose could have their use changed within the existing footprint. And it's going to be further checked and confirmed, and I suspect that there wasn't an action connected with that, so it hasn't been done. So I don't know if Mimo is the right guy to ask, but if somebody could take an action to get that question answered, that would be.
Yeah, I mean, we have got one, the cost of Seawall Cafe proposal to be detailed, but obviously that's separate from the cost. Yeah. Okay, we'll add that in. And the next meeting? 11th of March. 11th of March. Next meeting, 11th of March, and we may it's starting to do a birthday. What are you bringing to it? Thank you all for that.